And of course, you're a solo founder, and I think Chris, you've had some experience with founding, starting companies alone as well, right?
Yep.
Um, what I'm curious if you've considered, if you were to do it again, would you have started it with someone else to kind of address parts of this, or is that, I'm
Let's let
curious
the
as to the
cat out of
consideration.
the bag. No, actually, when the company was started in 2009,
Mhm.
Chris and I were co-founders.
Hmm.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, I
Yeah.
see.
But, it took seriously, it took years for the company to generate money. And Chris is
Mhm.
like, okay, I'm getting these tax implications for no money. Forget this. So he kind of bowed out.
Because
Um,
I still had my full time job then too, so
Mhm.
it was kind of burning me out a bit, and I was like, I can't. I got to give up something here. So
I
um,
see.
that was the choice I had to make because I had young kids at the time too, and I had to keep the insurance and all that stuff. So it was more of a family decision for me at that point.
yeah.
Mhm.
So initially done that. But I would definitely recommend, no offense to Chris or whatever, but have someone that has your opposite skill set. So
Hmm.
if you're starting like a software as a service application, you want an engineer, the next person you should have is a marketer or a salesman. So
Mhm.
definitely
Yeah.
comparable skill sets rather than someone who, there's too much an overlap between Chris and I's skill set.
Yeah. Like
Because
almost exactly.
yeah, so I mean, so it's all about, I mean, my experience is it's all about having people find you in a great product to sell them. So
Yeah.
again, that's what I'm saying. If we're doing a product, that's someone to build it and someone to sell it.
Yeah. Hey, welcome, Evac. How you doing? Good to see you. Um, yeah, and what I would say is one of the problems we had is that both of us were really good at technical stuff. Both of us sucked at marketing. If we'd have had somebody that was good at marketing, the thing would have taken off because the idea was there. It's all about um, getting eyes on scene is the big thing. I mean, even with like this show, I suck at marketing, so I'm having trouble growing the show and getting eyes on it because I just suck at marketing. So, um, and I think it's a nice show. It's interesting to people, but um, it's all about the marketing. So if you're doing technical stuff, um, I would say more often than not, you're going to want to pair with somebody who's good at marketing because technical people typically don't have a lot of that skill set. Typically. I mean, there are, of
I
course,
mean,
exceptions, but
it's really hard to find the unicorn, someone who knows everything about how to start a business well. So and it is a lonely thing to do doing something by yourself. So there are people that can do it. I would think either partner with people who can build some of these roles that we discussed in a partnership, or if you have enough money, you can go into it and hire someone to be your marketer, or if you don't want to make them a partner, or maybe they're a percentage. If you have a lion's share, maybe they're 20% owner, 10%. There's different books that talk about how to do. Maybe you have insight into that as well, Coda.
Yeah. So in my case,
Actually, I don't know how your company was actually started.
yeah. So mine actually, I started with, so there are four co-founders. A friend of mine from college, and also a professor at a different university, but there's an MIT professor that we co-founded with, and also a serial entrepreneur who led basically a incubation center. So the four of us kind of got together, starting with joint research project with the East Japan Railway Company, which is basically Tokyo's train stations. And so we kind of started with, here's a customer, here's an idea, and then we can build something out for that, and then we can then adapt it to other customer needs. So that was kind of the direction that we took. For that, of course, the conversation about the the stock breakdown is always kind of a big one. And I think that's really tricky to navigate. And a lot of people say, oh, it should just be 50-50 or even. And that's probably not not very very accurate, right? It should be representative of kind of what the different individuals bring to the table. I think in actually the conversation that we had initially for that was, I think the professor was just leaving our office, and I basically just missed him, and so I kind of ran out into the parking lot and chased after him and said, "Hey, we need to talk about this." And I think that was kind of when he was like, "Oh, I guess you're pretty serious about this." So the next day, he invited me out to lunch to McDonald's and took out a napkin and just like wrote down a split. And he was like, "How does this look?" And we just kind of adjusted things from there. But that was essentially the process that it went through for me, which is probably it's one of those kind of stereotypical Silicon Valley-esque stories, although not that where
Started this company on a napkin.
Right, yeah. So that was unfortunately I don't have the napkin anymore, but that was where it came from.
Man, should have framed that.
Did someone in that, out of those group of four, did someone have really good marketing skills, or is that something that you hired early on?
So, I think one of the big things is that the professor, he's the inventor of direct drive robotics, and he's one of the most kind of, he gets awards I think he, gets awards every year at all the different conferences, and he gets invited to the White House regularly and all these kinds of things, right?
Well, there you go.
Yeah. So having him on board, that automatically brings in pretty big customers. So I think that was a big part of it. It's always, I think the initial part of starting a business, it really helps to, first of all, be in the domain that you're targeting, but also by kind of being in that space, you develop a lot of connections, right? So those initial customers, it helps a lot for that to be people that you've previously worked with, people that you already know, that you have connections with, so that, because initially, your first MVP, the product that you give to your first customers is going to be pretty rough around the edges. So you need to have someone who's patient with you and understanding that that's the case, and willing to kind of work around some of that with you, while also kind of paying you, giving you some money and advocating for you. So I think that's really kind of the big thing there.
Yep. I mean, it's and in terms of marketing engine, it's really the strategy. It's both the strategy and the technique. The strategy is, how are you going to get the attention of the people who are going to buy your product?
Yeah.
And then the tactics to do so. That's kind of what I mean by marketing engine. So
right. Yeah. So I mean, in our case, just having the famous person on board, that's a marketing engine on its own, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, but I think also like they're just like some little things that we've done, that have helped. I think we're actually selected as one of sort of MIT's 5 promising like startups for the year. So we were pulled into their accelerator program, and so we did that for a year and basically went to every event. They told us we were like the most active people in it, so basically just went to everything. We went to Tokyo, we went to Korea, we did Vienna as well, all kind of through this MIT event. So really big part of it is just kind of going after those opportunities, right? And if there's it's I think pretty common to have a lot of opportunities and just not really chase them for one reason or another, and say, oh, it's okay, there are other things to do. But it really helps to kind of follow up on those little things and to just kind of follow them and just kind of let them grow. And the connections that you make through those kinds of things are really critical. So
Yeah. You make your own luck.
yeah.
If you like this clip and want to watch another one, you can click right here. Or if you want to watch the full video, you can click here.